All right, now we're working a little bit with two-step equations. So our lives are going to get just a little more complicated. So let's model with this first exercise. Juan has gained 20 pounds since last year. He now weighs 120 pounds. Rashad is 15 pounds heavier than Diego. So we've got three guys here. Juan, Rashad, and Diego. If Rashad and Juan weighed the same amount last year, how much does Diego weigh? Let J represent Juan's weight last year in pounds, and D for Diego. Okay. Wow. There's a lot going on in this problem. So let's write out what we know. So we know Juan is 120. Then says Rashad is 15 pounds heavier than Diego. So I'm going to say R equals D plus 15. If Rashad and Juan weighed the same amount last year, how much does Diego weigh? Okay. So Rashad and Juan weighed the same amount last year before Juan gained that weight. So R equals J minus 20. All right, so let's draw a tape diagram to represent Juan's weight. So we've got that. We know he gained 20 pounds, and that after growing a bit, he now weighs, actually that looks like a 1. I'm going to erase that and put it in a different color so it doesn't look quite so much like a 1. So he now weighs 120 pounds. Okay, so now we have a tape diagram to represent Rashad's weight. So we know last year he weighed the same as Juan before Juan gained 20 pounds. So we would say this is J minus 20 for R. And then for Diego, this is 15. This chunk of the tape diagram is worth 15. And so Diego, we know, weighs 15 pounds less than Rashad. So we're going to say R minus 15. Yeesh! So what would combining all these three tape diagrams look like? Yowza. Well, we know Juan and Rashad weighed the same amount last year. And we know that Juan put on that 20 pounds. And that all this equals 120. So we know that this stretch here must be 100. All right, let's check. What else do we know? So we know that this is also J for 1. And then we know that this is what Rashad weighs, because the problem tells us that they used to weigh the same. So we're going to say this is R. And then Diego weighs another 15 pounds less. So we're going to cut off another 15 pounds. And this right here, that's Diego. So that's how we can combine all three of those complicated tape diagrams into one. Is anyone else's brain sweating a bit? All right, let's keep going. So writing an equation to represent Juan's tape diagram is actually kind of what I was doing earlier when I was just trying to keep track of everyone. So J equals 120 minus 20. To represent Rashad, we know that R equals, so we know that Rashad could be represented a couple different ways. We know he's 15 pounds heavier than Diego, or we know he's 20 pounds less than Juan, because he didn't put on the 20 pounds maybe over the summer like Juan did. He's not growing quite as fast. So how can we use the tape diagrams to answer our question and figure out who weighs what? So let's say we know that Rashad equals J minus 20. And we know that J is 120, so we know Rashad equals 120 minus 20. So we know that R equals 100 pounds. So now that we have Rashad, we can figure out Diego. Since we know, here's what we know. We know that Rashad is 15 pounds heavier than Diego. So now we have numbers that we can plug in. So we had this equation up here, R equals D plus 15. Well, now we know what R equals. So now we can rewrite it with 100 equals D plus 15. All right, well, let's just solve for D. We need to get D all by itself, so we need to do the opposite. So let's subtract 15 from both sides, and we will end up with 85 equals D. So Diego weighs 85 pounds. I'm actually going to have you guys kind of ignore this part right here, and we can talk about it more a little bit later. Let's try another. Marissa has twice as much money as Frank. Christina has $20 more than Marissa. If Christina has $100, how much money does Frank have? So we're going to let F represent the money for Frank, M for Marissa. So first let's draw a tape diagram for Frank. So we know that Marissa has twice as much as he does. So this is F. And then this whole thing would be M for Marissa. Draw a tape diagram to represent the amount of money Marissa has. This is going to look a lot like the one I just did. 2 Franks equal 1 Marissa, because she has twice as much money. And last but not least, let's draw one for Christina. Since we know she has $20 more than Marissa, and if we want to get really fancy, we can include some Frank in here. So we know 2 Franks equal 1 Marissa. And this whole stinking thing is Christina. And then just to make it easiest, we know that Christina, we have an absolute value for her money. She has $100. So which tape diagram provides enough information to determine the value of the variable M? This guy. That's got the most information. That's got the most actual numbers. So let's take a look. So we're trying to solve for M. So we know M equals $100 minus 20. So we already have M by itself, so now we just need to finish the steps on this side. So M equals $80. And once again, we're not going to sweat about this part today. So now that we know Marissa has $80, how can we use this information to find out how much money Frank has? So just a reminder that Marissa has twice as much money as Frank. And that tape diagram looked like this. 2 Franks equal 1 Marissa. So if we wanted to write that as an equation, we would say 2 Frank equal 1 Marissa. But since we have a value for M, we know that 2 Franks equals 80. So now we just need to get F by itself. So 2F, the opposite of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. So let's divide by 2. And now we have F equals $40. Cool. Just like we did last time, we're not going to sweat this. So what does the 40 represent? Frank's money. Does 40 make sense? Cha. So the next round it says on your paper it should be stations. I'm not here to set up the stations, so I'd like you guys just to work on the exercises in your groups, please. Good luck. I'll see you tomorrow.